morning, everybody. Welcome back. I'm Jim Finch, and this is the Auditing and Sandy Newscast brought to you by ReallyCoolNews. If news is happening, it's news to me. I'll be your host tonight for an editorial on Jose Chile DeCastro, a look at the GoFundMe markets, and news on Craig Henry and Floyd Wallace. It's been a miserable day here in rainy north-central Pennsylvania. Thunder and lightning and everything frightening me, Galileo, Galileo, and all that. I spent part of the afternoon on the front porch with one of our resident strays, Nicholas, who couldn't find his brothers Vlad or Junior, but hung out for a while with this strange old man as we hid from the lightning. Of course, me being away from the computer meant that the internet was out, so we'll get into our thoughts on lightning after we dive into GoFundMe, Forgotten DeCastro Fund takes the day. The long-forgotten legal defense fund crime scene tape illegal arrest campaign run by Jose Chile DeCastro took the GoFundMe title for Friday with the $150 haul, bringing it to a total of $2,465 out of a goal of $30,000 after 2 donations by fans of the controversial YouTuber. The fund was set up very early in the year and was intended to supply DeCastro with funding to fight his arrest from February of this year, where he crossed police line tape to confront police officers in downtown Las Vegas who were working the scene of a fatal car accident. There's no real explanation for the 2 seemingly random donations, as DeCastro hasn't been live and DeCastro did not promote the fund while he was in jail or since he's been released. The fund's last donation before Friday came on May 23, 2024, with a seemingly random $20 donation. The fund may be one to watch as DeCastro's next hearing in the case that sparked the need for the fund comes on August 13, 2024. While it's just a preliminary hearing, DeCastro has hired an expensive lawyer to represent him in the case, recently explaining that he put up $15,000 out of the flat fee of $25,000 he negotiated with the lawyer to take the case. Our ongoing expenses fund took second place for the day with a $10 haul from our hate watcher. In a surprise twist, the fund for DeCastro protege, Garrett Press with Rancor Van Net, received no donations or promotion from DeCastro. While DeCastro briefly mentioned it on Thursday's live stream, and moderator Gloria A.D. promoted it on her own and even donated to it, he is not actively campaigning for the fund. DeCastro has gone radio silent since Thursday, apparently focusing on other things in his life after the conviction of Van Net for felony obstruction and resisting arrest charges on Thursday in Michigan. Likewise, promotion of the fund, apparently at least temporarily, ended on Thursday. Based on DeCastro's account of recent events, the men are currently experiencing drama in the background as Van Net declined to appear on DeCastro's live stream following his conviction. While Van Net apparently created the fund, DeCastro has claimed he has full access to the money in the fund and will be using it to pay for Van Net's appeal. It is unclear whether or not the YouTuber discussed this decision with Van Net before announcing it on the air. On that note, if you'd like to join our hate watcher and make me wonder if Van Net appearing out of the dark to take me to the fairy world and replace me with a fae child would be better than to continue to write this column each morning, we do have a GoFundMe of our own. All proceeds go to keep the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. Wallace, Colombia fundraiser fizzles again. Floyd Wallace's attempt to hold a fundraiser on Wednesday for his impending trip to Colombia fell $145 short of the $150 he needed during the fundraiser, prompting him to end things early. Wallace was seeking the $150 to enable him to buy a round-trip ticket to Colombia. His planned departure date was August 15, 2024, the day after jury selection is scheduled in his criminal trial for obstructing an officer in Oklahoma. Despite Wallace's previous statement that he would have a lawyer simply change his hearing date to accommodate his travel plans, the date is still in the state of Oklahoma's court system, and Wallace is expected to go on trial on August 15th, the day after jury selection. Wallace said he needed to upgrade his laptop, camera equipment, hotspot, and phone. He was looking into an iPhone 11 as an upgrade as he was too broke to afford the current model iPhone. While he said that the $150 he was raising was going towards his travel ticket, he was unclear how he'd be able to afford to upgrade the rest of his gear. Going silent for several minutes at a time, Wallace eventually began to complain about his channel and how he is giving it another month before making a decision on it. He seemed desperate to leave for Colombia, as he said that being outside of the United States would be the one thing that could jumpstart his channel. The YouTuber also spoke highly of Brazil, saying that his channel gained great fame when he was there and he regretted having to leave. He said he'd like to spend his birthday there and that he was not eligible to return to the country before September due to visa issues. Wallace reminded his viewers that moderation fees were due the following day, August 1st, for those with his moderation tools. He also continued to refuse to answer questions from his audience without a super chat, PayPal, or Cash App donation. Ending his fundraiser a little after 30 minutes, Wallace promised that he'd be back in the morning, but has yet to live stream since ending the fundraiser. Cerio to sue Everett crime analyst for $100 million. Sometime First Amendment auditor, snappy dresser, and YouTube personality Cerio released a new video on Thursday of his attempt to serve a criminal analyst working for the city of Everett, Washington. Typical of recent Cerio videos, Thursday's video began with the YouTuber explaining that he was in the process of serving his latest target with a massive lawsuit, despite the paperwork he was holding stating that it was a summons to appear in small claims court. Cerio claimed that it was a lawsuit for $100 million. Cerio entered the Everett Municipal Building in order to serve Everett crime scene analyst Erica Bennett, who he claimed released a bulletin about him that contained his social security number and driver's license number. He claimed that the information was confidential and that Bennett maliciously acted in releasing the information. The YouTuber apparently confused someone working at the front desk by demanding to speak to an administrator. The woman said she couldn't help him and told him to use the phone in the lobby to reach the administrative staff. After a few minutes of waiting by the phone, Cerio was approached by a woman who said she worked for the mayor's office and was willing to offer to help him. Cerio rejected her offer, telling the woman that she was being evasive in her actions of attempting to help him. The woman, confused by his statement, walked away and returned to her duties. Eventually, two women approached Cerio in an attempt to help him. Cerio announced that the women had been officially served, as his process server, assumed to be his father, Glenn Cerio Sr., who has previously appeared in the role, handed them the paperwork. One of the women corrected Glenn's claim that they had been served with a $100 million lawsuit by pointing out that the paperwork indicated that it was from small claims court. She also stated that she legally could not accept service as she did not work for the legal department and was not the subject of the lawsuit. Cerio ignored the woman's statements, mocking her as she left, and added a claim without proof that the FBI was now investigating the release of his private information. This was the latest in a series of small claims court summons served by Cerio on members of the Everett and Mukilteo police forces, city officials, and YouTuber Telekline. His unorthodox and improper methods of service claims to be suing for millions of dollars, when in reality he was serving small claims court paperwork, all have become staples of Cerio's recent YouTube videos. Cerio's video has had 28,338 views and 137 comments since its release. And DeCastro abandons principles and press with Rancor. Fans of Jose Chile DeCastro saw a new shift in the philosophy of their hero Thursday night as he abandoned his long-standing call for aggressive displays against the police in favor of passive resistance and compliance. DeCastro said on the livestream that his new union of journalists would be founded on the idea of working with the police to some extent while providing little to no resistance to lawful orders while on the scene with officers, saving any action for the court system. The YouTuber explained that the key to his recent arrest came in the fact that he had been confrontational in the arrests and noted that judges will always side with the police, especially when presented with an auditor or independent journalist acting as an aggressor in order to provoke the police. DeCastro went out of his way to chastise protege Garrett Press with Rancor Van Nett for his act in the arrest leading to his Thursday conviction on felony obstruction and resisting charges, stating that Van Nett standing his ground and ignoring the officer's verbal commands to move back multiple times was what got Van Nett convicted. Critics were quick to point out that Van Nett followed DeCastro's teaching at the time, and despite not flashing his indestructible trifold, the 5A cop cards did not exist at the time of the arrest, his actions reflected DeCastro's teachings and actions in his own audits of the police at the time. DeCastro's apparent new philosophy is to treat police with some respect, to stop overtly confronting and insulting them to their faces, and act in accordance with spoken commands. He claimed that he has always stood 15 feet away from the police when interacting with them, increased from a previous claim of 5 to 10 feet, and that members of his independent journalist union would have to abide by his new teachings. Fans were appalled by DeCastro's apparent abandonment of both Van Nett by blaming Van Nett for following DeCastro's teachings, and by the apparent idea that DeCastro is missing the point of First Amendment auditing. First Amendment auditing has always been seen as a test of Americans' rights. Auditors set out to openly harass and abuse officers as a test of their First Amendment rights. The very idea of an audit was based on seeing how far an auditor could provoke an officer before the officer violated their First Amendment rights. DeCastro himself has used First Amendment auditing, based on apparently real hatred towards police, as a form of expression of his emotions, letting out his anger towards officers while testing the limits of the First Amendment as justification for his behavior. His new laid-back approach flies in the face of both of his products, which are openly designed to challenge police with their instructions on how to continue a confrontation and protect the user's rights while avoiding an arrest for over-the-top behavior. Typical of DeCastro's recent promises, his promise to put up the new guidelines for members of his independent journalist union Thursday night was not acted upon. It remains to be seen if DeCastro would continue his policies of restraint towards police, or if he'll abandon his newfound beliefs to appease his fans. Well, how about them spring chickens? Do you believe for a minute that Jose Chili DeCastro essentially neutered himself and now will give up on getting in police officers' faces? Did a stint in minimum security jail scare the auditor out of him? And what about Press with Rancor? DeCastro dissed the hell out of his buddy, the man he was responsible for teaching the methods. Rancor could really go away for 2 flippin' years because he listened to DeCastro's idiotic point of view. And DeCastro is washing his hands of responsibility. Serenity now, murder later. Oh, may these storms reverse course and go backwards, and may lightning strike Chili in his D's nuts multiple times. Not D's, Lord, Lady, alien being, God and Goddess that is hearing my plea, but Chili's nuts multiple times until sense envelops his body and leaves him with knowledge. I don't care at this point. On that note, we have the Week in Review coming at our normal time tomorrow. We're also spending every spare moment restoring the website, so please check it out at ReallyCoolSite.org. That's ReallyCoolSite.org. And with that, have a wonderful evening, unless you're Chili DeCastro. Incoming!